So I wanted to see, could Goku beat every Pokemon? Can Goku take down the Pokemon verse? Lock in for this video, chat.
Besides Goku versus Superman, probably the most popular casual power scaling debate of all time is every Pokemon versus 1 billion lions. The premise is simple. Have one of each of the currently 1,000...
Okay, first things first. First things first. What do you say? One Pokemon versus 1,000 lions? First things first, most Pokemon probably could, okay? Like, Pikachu probably could take down 1,000 lions, bro. Like, he has electric powers, bro. What is a lion gonna do against a thunderbolt, bro? Nothing. Literally nothing.
25 different unique Pokemon go up against a massive army of real-world animals. And not to burst the bubble of any lion defender, but the Pokemon win that fight pretty easily. Having large numbers doesn't really matter when the difference in strength is quite literally more than 1 billion times. But I'm getting ahead of myself. To give every Pokemon a challenge, they would need something far more substantial than a bunch of cats. So what if we replaced 1 billion lions with one Saiyan? Goku. Pokemon and Dragon Ball are the two most popular Japanese franchises outside of Japan.
Okay, I'm gonna predict right now. Like, I want to predict right now. Ditto. If Ditto is able to clone Goku, and at that point, if the clone has Goku's powers, has Super Saiyan, Kamehameha, all that, low-key Goku's kind of cooked. But if it was like, I feel like most Pokemon Goku would be able to just kill easily. You know, the gods of time and space and, you know, matter manipulation. That's where it gets a little tough.
But when it comes to power, which one actually comes out on top? Today, we're gonna find out. If you like this kind of stuff, make sure to like and subscribe, and let's jump right in.
Goku getting ripped.
Now, when it comes to scaling a franchise as absolutely massive as Pokemon, the issue of canonicity and continuity is the first thing that needs to be addressed. There are the mainline games, remakes of the mainline games, spin-offs of the mainline games, multiple different anime, movies, manga, the card game, and plenty of...
He can copy his moves, but not his fighting Ooh, that is true. That is true. You can't copy one's mind. So, yeah, that's true, actually.
All officially have the Pokemon name. However, to say that all of these are directly connected obviously opens up a whole can of worms of contradictions and probably would require a separate video to fully comprehend. So, for this video in particular, I will be sticking with information, feats, and statements that are within the general main series of games from Pokemon Red and Blue all the way to Legends Arceus and Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Though, to be fair, ultimately, unless you bring in crossovers like Super Smash Bros., the scaling of Pokemon with and without the extended material doesn't actually change all that much in the grand scheme of things. Now, just like the original Lions versus Pokemon topic, there will be
base Goku is enough for the verse? You think so? Yeah, I guess I just don't really know how strong Arceus, Dialga, Palkia... I don't really know how strong the Mega Evolutions are. I don't know how strong Mewtwo really is. Like, what's his biggest feat? Like, most of them are probably maximum, I would say, city level.
Exactly 1,025 Pokemon. So
base Goku's overkill for the verse?
There will be one Bulbasaur, one Ivysaur, and one Venusaur, going all the way to the most...
I guess he's about to explain who's the strongest Pokemon, you know?
Pecharunt, which... yeah, that's a Pokemon that exists. You've probably never seen this guy before and never will again after this video. When it comes to having this whole army of Pokemon go up against Goku, it is completely redundant to literally explain why Goku beats each individual Pokemon. No one is dying for me to break down why Goku versus Spoink isn't close. So instead, we'll be dividing the Pokemon into tiers of power and generally going over where they scale within the franchise.
I like how he's doing
Pokemon all the way to the strongest.
Okay, I like how he's
some might
branching
argue
this out.
that actually all Pokemon are relative in power via game mechanics, so technically even a level 1 Bidoof or a
Bidoof is the GOAT. Bidoof is the strongest Pokemon in the entire verse. I'm calling it now.
Can defeat any legendary Pokemon, which in some circumstances is technically true, and weirdly enough, that is kind of supported by lore. You see, in the games themselves, it's pretty lore consistent that a good trainer can essentially amp their Pokemon to be as strong as they need to.
The power friendship, guys. The power friend, dude. That's one thing that I like in Pokemon. Like, that is cool, because at least with lore and within the Pokemon universe, the power of friendship actually kind of makes sense. You know, the stronger bond you have with your Pokemon, the more powerful they're willing to put out for you. Whereas, like, I remember there was an arc where Ash was fighting some guy that was always an asshole to his Pokemon. And Ash won specifically because he had a stronger bond with his Pokemon, and the guy who didn't have a strong bond with his Pokemon was just like a little bitch, basically.
Win a battle via the power of friendship, trust, or just pure skill. This essentially explains why a common rat Pokemon can technically defeat God with the right trainer. But this doesn't apply in this scenario because all of these Pokemon are wild and don't have a trainer giving them a boost, so no rodent is defeating Mewtwo today. With all that out of the way, let's finally begin to talk about the first tier, which are
Goku and base can already destroy an infinite-sized universe. The hell is some building level fodder gonna do? No, you're right, Daniel. You're right. No, you're right. I just don't know how strong the strongest Pokemon are. Like I said, you know, Dragapult, Arceus are probably some of the strongest ones, you know, because they're obviously the gods of everything. So that's probably where Goku would probably struggle, maybe. But even then, I don't know. I think you're right. I don't think Goku would actually struggle.
are obviously low tier Pokemon.
The power of friendship beats all fiction. Low key, hey, it wins in Fairy Tail. It always works in Fairy Tail, so.
This tier is made up of a large amount of Pokemon, only anywhere from an in-game stat total of less than 200 all the way to a bit over 300. Almost every single Pokemon here is designed to be intentionally weak, as they all evolve into bigger, better, and stronger Pokemon. All of the starter Pokemon are here, Magikarp, baby Pokemon, and pretty much anything else that evolves twice can be found within this range. Now, just because they are proportionally and lore-wise inferior to not only other Pokemon, but even just evolved versions of themselves, that does not mean they are weak in the slightest, and they're actually probably stronger than you think. For an example of casual power of even random unevolved Pokemon, many can learn moves that can instantly change the weather, like Rain Dance and Hail. These moves not only completely change the weather fully over the horizon.
Is Mewtwo the strongest Pokemon? No, not even close, not even close. I mean, Mewtwo's really strong. He's one of the strongest Pokemon, but no, he's not the strongest, for sure.
But can even cancel out previous weather conditions. This requires the creation or dissipation of clouds incredibly quickly, which can be actually insanely strong. For example, in other series in which characters created or dissipated clouds in a short time frame, like All Might did in My Hero Academia, calculations have put stuff like this at island to even country level in power. Now,
oh my
usually
God.
I'd say that this is just a game mechanic and that the basic Pokemon aren't this strong, but actually being island level as a baseline at least is incredibly consistent for Pokemon. Take these ground types.
Oh, nah, he's glazing Pokemon right now, chat. He's glazing Pokemon. There's no way you're telling me this Sandshrew is island level, bro. I don't believe it. Bro cannot do that.
Like Diglett or Sandshrew that can learn the move Magnitude. This attack creates an earthquake that varies from magnitude 4 all the way to magnitude 10. Just like changing the weather, the power behind earthquakes may be higher than you think. For a magnitude 10 earthquake in this instance, the power of individual shockwaves is...
See, I just don't believe a Ditto would be able to... Yeah, okay, yes, in the game, a Ditto can use magnitude 10. Yes, in the game for sure. But like in an actual, like in the anime, I just don't see Ditto ever doing something like that. Like that's just too overpowered for such a small Pokemon. How would that even happen? Like how would Ditto even cause a magnitude 10 earthquake? That makes no sense.
Already island level, but the total amount of energy is once again country level in power. So while not every single one of these weak Pokemon can actually cause an earthquake at that magnitude or blow up an island, they are still at least somewhat comparable to the power needed to do so. Remember the lions? Well, yeah, even a billion of them are not going to do anything to a single Pokemon that is dishing out island-busting power. So how do these guys do against Goku? Well, they obviously lose, but probably could defeat Goku up until around the Mercenary Tau fight or the 20-second Budokai.
That makes sense.
Goku is just ambiguously between mountain level and moon level. So not that bad for a bunch of random birds and bugs. So with that baseline, let's move to the mid-tier Pokemon. This tier is made up of pretty much the rest of the Pokemon that are legendary or comparable to a legendary, so about 350 to the high 500s in stats. Due to the somewhat exponential nature of the scaling of Pokemon that we'll see in a sec, the
Island
mid-tiers
level
of the
is
Pokemon...
fodder to Goku. Oh, for sure, dude. Goku's like multiversal.
Verse don't substantially exceed the feats of the previous low tiers, and given that stronger Pokemon are also capped at a certain level of power, they are a bit limited here. There are many Pokedex entries like or even casually move or shatter mountains apart, which actually isn't more impressive than the magnitude 10 earthquakes that we talked about before, coming out to city or mountain level, unsurprisingly. From pure stat multipliers, they are obviously several times stronger than Pokemon in the previous tiers, but it's not enough of a multiplicative distance to consistently put them at a higher tier of power, meaning they still lose to Kid Goku. Now, it's here you can make some crack arguments that involve moves like Seismic Toss, Moonlight, or even Sunny Day, which may potentially involve...
Honestly, chat, I don't think he's going to mention Ditto. I think he's going to forget about Ditto.
The Earth or other celestial bodies around, which could make them anywhere from planetary to star level, but based on what is considered impressive from Pokemon in the next tier, I really doubt that is what's happening. Though, at best, it still means they lose to Namek Goku, who can one-shot guys who can do this. High tier Pokemon.
All right, here we go.
Here we reach Legendary.
Yeah, this is where it gets difficult for Goku. Now, this is where we get like Mewtwo, Groudon, Rayquaza, regular Mew. You know what I'm saying? Like all the legendary Pokemon.
Pokemon and those that are comparable to them. And it's here where canonicity really starts impacting scaling. In the Pokemon manga in particular, many legendaries to each other due to fighting, and simply have better feats or more in-depth statements about their powers that simply aren't in the games. In the games, the gaps in power between legendaries is pretty massive, with most being featless and just vaguely stronger than non-legendaries. So let's talk about the ones that do actually have scaling. First, of course, you have Groudon and Kyogre and all the Pokemon in Gen 3 that scale to them. In their primal forms or not, Kyogre and Groudon respectively...
I hate to say it, Goku bodying them. I hate to say it, Groudon, Kyogre, Rayquaza, Goku bodying them.
The continents and are capable of completely flooding said continents, making them, along with Deoxys and Rayquaza, at least multi-continental in power. This is why I don't think the previous potential planetary or beyond scaling for non-legendaries is very consistent, if more powerful Pokemon are kinda super consistently portrayed on that level. Beyond multi-continental...
Wait, Goku can use Hakai to erase anything? Yeah, he can't. So he uses it in the manga once. I don't know if he uses it again. I know he uses it in the Goku Black arc. But yes, he does use it and he can use it for sure. Ankh, seriously? Huh?
Although you have the likes of the Generation 5 legendaries like Zekrom, Reshiram, and Kyurem, who are implied to be planet busters in some dialogues. And unfortunately, besides that, most other legendaries only get scaling in non-game media, or are just implied to scale to these other legendaries that do have scaling. So, is this completely one-sided? Do no Pokemon stand a chance against Goku?
Okay, he didn't even mention the Pokemon that I said. Okay, I'm calling right now. I hope he mentions Ditto. That would be crazy. I want him to mention Ditto. He needs to mention Dialga, Palkia, and Arceus. I'm trying to think of some other ones. Maybe some of the other legendaries from like Pokemon X and Y. Maybe the ones from Sun and Moon. I don't know though.
Well, not so fast. There's one generation I haven't covered much of yet. The God tiers.
Yep, here we go.
It's really impossible to understate how absolutely insane the jump in power is in Generation 4 Pokemon. Of course, I'm talking about the God Pokemon found in Diamond, Pearl, Platinum, and the rest of stuff in Generation 4. Palkia, Giratina...
I don't know if Giratina can do nothing. That's why I wasn't really mentioning Giratina. Are they immortal though?
Arceus, being the gods of space, time, antimatter, and, well, everything, respectively. These are the Pokemon responsible for the creation of the entire Pokemon multiverse.
Yep.
Individually, Palkia and Dialga are stated to completely control all of space and time, while Giratina exists within and potentially is the distortion world, a realm beyond the concepts of space-time entirely. At the bare minimum, these legendaries are Universe Plus or even low multi in power.
Alright, this is where Goku kind of gets some trouble, guys. I knew it. I knew these were the characters that he was going to bring up. I was surprised. Bro did not bring up Ditto. Where is Ditto, bro? I want to know where Ditto is.
As the Pokemon universe has been stated to be infinite multiple times. Furthermore, the Pokemon universe does have a multiversal cosmology. Games like Sun and Moon, X and Y, and Legends Arceus reveal that there are countless and innumerable alternate worlds and dimensions that should all fall under the control of Palkia and Dialga as well. I say potentially because you can interpret that each of these universes also has their Palkia and Dialga, meaning they only created one universe at a time, rather than a potentially infinite amount. This fact, however, cannot apply to Arceus, who can not only create universes by himself, but can literally make copies of the 3 lesser Pokemon on a whim. Furthermore, unlike the other legendaries, it strongly implied that there is only one Arceus.
Not the games anymore. Low-key, you might be kind of onto something.
Battle or catch him in game, you are simply holding a fraction or an avatar of the real thing. This means that Arceus has created effectively an infinite multiverse through his avatars, or at worst has created each individual Pokemon game, each of which is a separate universe in a multiverse. At the bare minimum, this makes the god of Pokemon low complex multiversal, as he was stated to be beyond all of this. Using the statements about the distortion world, you could potentially get him to outerversal if you so choose. So how do these guys stack up to Goku? Well, if you take the first interpretation, that there's only one Palkia and Dialga maintaining all of space-time, then Goku is losing to all of them. His
Whoa. Chat. He did not just say that. He did not just fucking say that. You don't say that Goku fucking loses. Come here. Goku doesn't fucking lose. Okay? Goku fucking wins.
feats get him to low multiverse level or infinitely less than what they're creating. If you think there are an infinite amount of Dialgas and Palkias, then he should be everyone but Arceus, who would still be infinitely stronger than him. So, Can Goku beat all 1,025 Pokemon?
No.
Unfortunately, no.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, hey, that still is kind of cool that Goku can beat nearly the entire Pokemon verse besides the strongest Pokemon. That's crazy.